Apparently, I've become the go-to financial safety net for my entire family. I work in cybersecurity at a mid-tier tech company. It's not flashy or exciting, but the pay is solid. This year especially, it's been good. I just scored a $15,000 bonus for leading a successful ransomware recovery. I'd been daydreaming about finally putting some of it toward that trip to Kyoto I've wanted to take for years. Either that, or maybe finally upgrading my car, the one that makes that weird clunking sound every time I back up. But so far, I hadn't touched the bonus. It was just sitting in my savings, quietly waiting, like a promise I made to myself. Then out of the blue, I got a text from my mom. Dinner at Aunt Karen's tonight. Just a casual thing. Wear something nice. Casual. In Aunt Karen's world, casual usually means cheap plastic tablecloths and maybe a Spotify playlist, if someone remembered to bring a speaker. So, I wasn't expecting much. I pulled up around 6:45. The street was jammed. Cars were parked on both sides of the road, and the bass from the music was pounding hard enough to shake my dashboard. For a second, I thought I'd stumbled onto a block party. But the moment I stepped onto Karen's driveway and saw the giant balloon arch, I froze. Surprise baby shower. A massive banner screamed it in glittery gold letters. I literally blinked in disbelief. People I barely recognized were already there. Red Solo cups in hand, dancing like it was 2005. A DJ was blasting early 2000 throwback hits, and 3 folding tables were about to collapse under the weight of catered dishes. There had to be at least 90 people crammed into that backyard. Some were co-workers from my brother's job. A few looked like folks from mom's church. There were even Instagram influencers snapping selfies in front of a pro-designed photo wall that read, "Number baby Teddy coming, soon baby Teddy." That would be my brother Jason's unborn kid. I stepped inside trying to find someone who could explain what exactly was going on. I finally spotted my mom by the buffet table, acting like some suburban royalty holding court. She looked at me like I was late to my own surprise party. "There you are," she said, beaming. Then in a low voice, she added, "Did you bring a gift?" "I thought this was just a casual dinner," I replied, confused. She gave an exaggerated sigh. "Well, technically it is, just with a little more love." I didn't laugh. I just looked around and asked, "Where did all of this come from?" I pointed to the DJ setup, the catered spread, the custom party favors, and the giant banner with Jason's face photoshopped onto a cartoon baby's body. "Ethan, don't be dramatic," she said, like I'd just asked something silly. "It's for family. You wouldn't want your little nephew's first big party to be a letdown, would you?" Something about the way she said it made my stomach twist. I stepped back and checked my phone, opened my banking app, and there it was, $10,200. Gone. Multiple transactions, all made over the past 4 days. Catering, event planning service, balloon vendor, a venue deposit, though this was literally Aunt Karen's house, so that one felt sketchy. DJ equipment rental, even a $400 payment for some influencer partnership. Every charge, on my card, my personal savings account. I felt a chill crawl across my face. I'd never given anyone access to that account. Well, except her. I turned back to my mom. "You used my bonus." She didn't even try to deny it. Didn't blink. Just looked at me like I was the one being unreasonable. "It's for family," she said again, like that explained everything. "And don't act like you can't afford it. You never use your money for anything anyway." I just stood there, staring, at my brother across the room, raising a toast with a mimosa like he was some A-list celeb, at the cake shaped like a baby bottle with "Thanks Uncle Ethan" written across it in bright blue icing. And inside, I just felt hollow. All those hours I'd put in, the late nights, the stress, the tension headaches. That bonus was supposed to be mine, a reward for everything I pushed through, a break, a breath of fresh air. Instead, they helped themselves to it like I was just some ATM in a button-down shirt. No one even asked. They just assumed, like they were entitled to it. I didn't say a word, just turned around and walked out. Didn't touch the food. Didn't say goodbye. When I got home, I stared at my laptop screen for what felt like forever. Then I started typing. I reported every single transaction as fraud, froze all my cards, changed every password, revoked access from every linked user, including Mom, who I'd once added just so she'd feel included. Then out of pure spite, I opened the shared folder with all my old budget sheets and started scrolling through every expense I'd ever covered. Rent boosts, grocery trips, Jason's car insurance, Dad's dental work. Even that church fundraiser Mom once asked for help with, that turned out to be a Caribbean cruise. They always called it helping the family, but they never asked. It was just expected. So I wrote one email. Just one. Subject line: you made your choice. I attached every screenshot I had, the unauthorized charges, the fraud claim confirmations, and the emails from the bank approving the reverse transactions. At the end, I added a short note. This wasn't your money to take. I'm done being the family's fallback. I hit send at exactly 1:13 a.m. By 6:50 that morning, my phone was buzzing nonstop. 32 missed calls. A message from Dad. What did you do? A voicemail from Mom that started with, Ethan, this is not how we handle things in this family, and ended with what definitely sounded like a sniffle. But the real showstopper? At 7:05 a.m., someone started pounding on my apartment door. Jason. He was hitting the door so hard I was half convinced the frame might splinter. I didn't answer. I just stood there, leaning against the hallway wall with my arms crossed, listening as he yelled through the door. He waved his phone around like it was a weapon, like shouting into the hallway could somehow pull the money back into his account. I didn't budge. Not a word. Eventually, he burned through his outrage, sputtered out some final curse, and stormed off, grumbling something about calling Mom. Not that it mattered. I already knew she was spamming my inbox. 8 unread emails, all with subject lines soaked in guilt. We need to talk. You're being unreasonable. I'm your mother. I spent the rest of that morning in complete silence. No music, no TV, just me, a hot mug of coffee, and the soft clack of my laptop keys while the emotional storm brewed outside my apartment. I didn't respond to anyone. I didn't need to. The message had landed. But I wasn't finished. Not yet. If I was going to be the villain in their story, I wanted them to at least understand why. At noon, I dropped a message in the family group chat. Attached was a detailed, itemized list. Every single unauthorized charge. Each transaction listed with the date and timestamp. I highlighted a few in red, just to make a point. Influencer package tier 2. 4 Instagram posts plus 1 story. Premium DJ experience, 5 hours. Then I included a screenshot of what was left in my savings, just under $5,000. That was all that remained after months of long nights, overtime shifts, and missed weekends. The caption? Short and sharp. If you think this is acceptable behavior, then you never really knew who I was. This isn't up for debate. This is the end of the conversation. Within an hour, 3 people left the chat. Jason didn't. Instead, he started flooding it with voice messages, each one sadder than the last. The first was full of rage. The second tried to justify everything. But the third? That one stuck with me. Come on, man. It wasn't even my idea. Mom said you'd be okay with it. I thought you'd be proud. You know? That you helped. You always help. He said it like that. You always help. Like it was some job title I'd accepted. Like this was just part of who I was. Not something they forced on me again and again until I stopped noticing it. And in that moment, it finally clicked. This wasn't just about the money. It was about the assumption. The way they saw me, not as Ethan, not a brother, not a son, just a human debit card. The messages kept pouring in. That night, Mom called 15 times. Then Dad tried. Then Aunt Karen. I ignored every single one. But the voicemails came anyway, right on cue. Ethan, this is your family. Don't throw us away over money. You're humiliating us. What are people going to think? Your nephew's baby shower is ruined. Ruined. As if I was the one who ruined it. As if they hadn't stolen from me. As if I was blowing things out of proportion. But what they didn't know, what they weren't ready for, was that I wasn't just finished with the theft. I was done being their crutch. The next day, I went into full shutdown mode. I opened up every shared account, every recurring payment I'd been covering for years. quietly behind the scenes. I started making a list. Mom's gym membership, Dad's phone plan, Jason's Netflix account. He never even asked for the password, just logged in one day and never left. I shut it all down. I contacted every service provider, changed every single password, transferred my checking account to a completely new bank, and shredded the old debit card. I even canceled the home insurance I'd been paying for on the family house. Temporarily, of course. It was just supposed to be for a few months. That had been over 2 years ago. By the end of the week, they weren't just locked out of my finances. They were locked out of my life. That Friday night, I turned off my phone. I opened a new browser tab, and I finally did it. I booked a solo trip to Japan. 2 full weeks, no texts, no family drama, just me, Kyoto, and the sound of soft rain on ancient rooftops. It felt like surfacing for air after being held underwater for way too long. But of course, they couldn't let it go. The next morning, I was woken by another knock on the door. Not banging this time, just a quiet, persistent rhythm. I looked through the peephole. It was Mom. No makeup. Puffy red eyes. Her hair pulled back in a messy bun like she hadn't slept at all. Dad stood just behind her, arms crossed, looking drained. She knocked again. I didn't move, didn't speak. But she started talking anyway, her voice shaky, like maybe she believed I was right there, inches away, just waiting for a little guilt to swing the door open. Ethan, we didn't mean to hurt you. We thought it was for family. We thought you'd understand. You always do. Then silence. But she wasn't done. Jason had told me he used my card. I thought you'd be okay with it, he said. You always help. There it was again, that phrase. You always help. As if helping once meant I'd signed a lifelong agreement. As if saying no now somehow made me the bad guy. Like my entire worth was measured in how convenient I was for them to lean on. I watched Mom's shoulders sag. She lingered for a moment longer. Then, without another word, turned and walked away. I stayed by the door long after they were gone, just listening to nothing. The silence was deafening, but it was also the most peaceful thing I'd heard in years. But of course, the story didn't end there. Later that night, my phone lit up with a call from an unfamiliar number. No voicemail, no follow-up, just a missed call and a heavy sinking feeling in my gut. Then another, and another. Finally, a text came through. It was from Jason, 4 words. You need to see this. There was a photo attached, and when I opened it, I just sat there, frozen, staring. It was a picture of a handwritten letter, folded once, like it had been tucked into a drawer or hidden in a book. My name, Ethan, was scribbled at the bottom in ink that had smudged slightly. The handwriting was unmistakable. It was Mom's. But the letter wasn't meant for me. It was written about me. I zoomed in. If he ever finds out, we'll just say we didn't know. He never asks questions. He just fixes things. That's what Ethan does. My stomach dropped. I kept scrolling. The rest of the letter looked like it had been written in a frantic rush. Mom's usual messy loops and heavy pressure. Some lines were crossed out, others underlined twice. The ink bled through in places. Jason says we should tell him the baby shower was just a surprise, but I already used the money. I told the planner it was fine. We had the funds. Ethan got that bonus. I'm not asking. Not again. He'll forgive me. He always does. Besides, it's not really stealing if we're family, right? I stared at that sentence for what felt like forever. At first, I honestly thought it had to be fake, a prank, a cruel joke. But I recognized the paper, the same floral notepads Mom had always ordered in bulk from those outdated catalogs, the same ones she'd leave notes on for the cleaner or the landscaper when I was a kid. And the handwriting? No doubt, it was hers. Then another message came through from Jason. Found it in Mom's desk while I was trying to get into her old phone. She doesn't know I saw it. I didn't reply. I couldn't. My thumbs hovered over the screen, but no words came. There was no message that could capture what I felt. It wasn't just anger or betrayal, not even shock. Because deep down, I think I'd always known. Somewhere in the back of my mind, I'd suspected this wasn't just thoughtlessness. It was intentional. This letter, it was proof. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't an accident. It was a choice. They chose to use me, to lie, to take what wasn't theirs, and they counted on the fact that I'd just take it, like I always had. I put my phone down and walked to the kitchen. I don't even remember pouring the glass of water. I just remember the way my hands were trembling, not with rage, but something colder, something more final. I sat back down and opened my laptop again. Their access to my accounts was already cut, their names scrubbed from every financial record. But this time, it wasn't about money. Now I needed to cut them out of me. I opened my email and started typing. Slow, deliberate, clear. The same tone I use at work when drafting up incident reports. Professional, precise, detached. Subject line. A final note. Body, you didn't just spend my money. You spent my trust. You planned it. You documented it. You made a decision, assuming I was too predictable to ever push back. I don't care if it was for the family. I'm part of this family too, and I refuse to keep sacrificing while everyone else stays comfortable. This isn't cruelty. It's closure. If you reach out again, do it through a lawyer. Ethan. I sent the email. Then I deleted the family group thread, archived every voicemail, blocked every number, except one, Jason's. I hesitated, because for all his screw-ups, he had sent the letter. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was fear, like he knew he'd be next. Maybe it was survival instinct. Whatever it was, he cracked the illusion. And in doing so, he gave me something I'd never received from my family before. Proof. But just as I exhaled, trying to come to terms with everything, a new message from Jason popped up. This time it wasn't about the letter. It was a screenshot, an email from Mom, sent the night of the baby shower. Subject line, emergency. And the body? That's what made my jaw lock tight. If he freezes the accounts before the refunds go through, we're done. The message was short. Director. I need you to convince him it was all a mix-up. Tell him I didn't know about the charges. Play dumb if you have to. He'll believe you. He trusts you. Do not let him feel betrayed. If he cuts us off, we lose everything. That's what Mom wrote. Jason didn't try to explain. No apology, no excuses. Just a screenshot of the email and one line beneath it. Didn't know she sent this. Just found it. Do what you gotta do. I just stared at the screen. And in that moment, the truth hit me hard. They never really believed I'd walk away. They were so sure I couldn't, that I wouldn't. But they were wrong, because I already had. I sat with that message for a long time. The email, the subject line, the desperation dripping from every word Mom wrote. It felt surreal, like reading the final piece of a puzzle I never wanted to solve, but absolutely needed to see completed. I'd always suspected Mom could be manipulative, but I'd never seen it spelled out, literally. The strategy, the performance, the assumption that one good lie, one rehearsed apology would be enough to pull me back in. But this time, I wasn't folding. This time, I was torching the whole damn playbook. I didn't reply to Jason. I didn't need to. Whether it was guilt or self-preservation, he'd cracked it open. And I wasn't about to tape it back together. Instead, I forwarded the email to myself, then printed it out, along with the letter he'd sent me earlier. I slid them both into a folder labeled Personal Records, not because I was planning a lawsuit, at least not right now, but because I needed something tangible, something to remind me I wasn't making this up, that I wasn't overreacting, that what they did to me wasn't an accident. It was a choice. Walking away is one thing, but staying away, that's the real battle, especially when they start trying to sneak back in. And oh, did they try. The phone calls came first, mostly from Aunt Karen. She played the usual, I'm neutral in all this card, pretending she just wanted to see the family whole again. Then came the texts. Cousins I barely talked to suddenly reaching out, dropping lines like, we're worried about you. You know your mom meant well. But the worst, a week later an envelope showed up in my mailbox. No return address. Just my name, scrawled in Mom's familiar handwriting. Inside, a 4-page letter. The first 2 pages were a tangled mess of half apology and full-blown guilt trip. She wrote about how hard it had been raising 2 boys alone, about how I was always the dependable one, the quiet one, the one who never caused trouble. She said things had gotten out of hand, that she only wanted to make the baby shower feel special. She never used the words, "I stole from you." She never acknowledged the lie. She just kept saying how disappointed she was, that I had let money come between us. But it was page 3 that broke something in me. We had no choice, Ethan. You have so much, and Jason has always struggled. I just thought, if we didn't take care of this for him, who would? That line, we had no choice. It echoed in my head for days, like success made me indebted, like having more meant I owed them, automatically, unconditionally. Like my achievements weren't mine to keep, but theirs to use, as if my hard work existed solely to cover for Jason's failures. And then there was page 4, completely blank, just her signature at the bottom. Like that sealed the deal, like that was closure. I didn't write back. I shredded the letter. A few days later, I booked an appointment with a therapist. First session was over Zoom, second one was in person. By the third, I found myself saying things I didn't even know I'd been carrying around. How I'd always been expected to be the peacekeeper, the fixer, the dependable one. How Jason could screw up again and again and still get treated like the family's golden child. While I stood in the background, buttoned up, always reliable, always paying, how every milestone in my life got overshadowed, diminished, ignored. My first real promotion, Mom said, "Oh, that's nice," and then spent 15 minutes complaining about how Jason's ex wouldn't let him see his dog. That therapy session, it cracked something open. For the first time, I said it out loud. I don't think my family ever saw me as a person. The therapist didn't flinch. She just nodded and said, "That sounds incredibly painful." And it was, but it also felt like finally lifting a weight I'd been dragging since I was 16. In the weeks that followed, I started taking my life back. I filed a formal fraud report with my bank. 3 weeks later, the full $10,200 was back in my account. I set up identity theft monitoring, went through every lingering account connected to my family, made sure they were either fully transferred or closed for good. I even got a new phone number. It was tedious, but it was worth it. The silence that followed. At first, it felt unnatural, like I was waiting for the next explosion. A call, a letter, a knock on the door. But none came, and slowly that silence started to feel like peace, like a warm, weighted blanket. Not emptiness, freedom. I started going out again, bought myself a camera and rediscovered photography, something I hadn't touched since college. I stopped checking the old group chats, stopped waiting for guilt to crawl back in. And if it did, I never opened the door. When the Kyoto trip finally came, I went. 2 full weeks, alone. I wandered through ancient shrines at sunrise when everything was still wrapped in mist. Ate ramen in hole-in-the-wall shops where no one knew my name. Strolled through gardens. Took photos of cherry blossoms. Sat beside koi ponds for hours doing absolutely nothing. No demands, no expectations, no guilt. Just me. And for the first time in my adult life, that was enough. On my final night, I sat beneath a lantern-lit bridge in Guyana, scrolling through the photos I'd taken. One stood out, just a blurry shot of my own reflection in the water. Slightly off-center, soft around the edges, but it felt right. Like somehow I was finally seeing myself clearly. Not the fixer, not the family bank account, not the default emergency plan. Just Ethan, 31, independent, whole. When I got home, there was one last envelope waiting for me. This time, it wasn't from Mom. It was from Jason. No return address, just a folded note and a photo inside. The note said, "I'm moving. Got a job offer in another state. Wanted you to have this. I know I don't deserve anything, but for what it's worth, I'm sorry, and thank you." The photo was from the baby shower, a candid shot of me, standing by the front door. Just as the realization hit, my face said everything: shock, hurt, confusion. I didn't even remember anyone taking it. But on the back, in Jason's handwriting, was one final message. "You deserved better than this." I didn't cry. I didn't call. But I kept the photo, not as a reminder of betrayal, but as a reason to never go back. Because forgiveness isn't the same as forgetting. And boundaries aren't cruelty. They're how we heal. My family made their choice. And this time, finally, I made mine. I chose me. I